It is Sunday, October 26th, and it's getting pretty late with Jake Lando. Folks, thank you so much for bearing with our week off. I forgot when I was telling you to see me next week, last 2 weeks ago, that I was going to a wedding last weekend, and it was awesome. I was in Montreal with friends. It was a Jewish wedding, and I got to perform a unique mitzvah I haven't gotten to do before, which is being one of the two people to sign the wedding contract, which you have to do in Judaism. But anyways, it was a great time. Thank you for bearing with my week off. It was very good, and I recommend all of you go to Montreal as well. It's a wonderful city, and I hiked so much I now have blisters on my feet. But this week is the guest we were supposed to have last week, and who thankfully bared with our week off for that wedding. He's familiar to you. You've had him on twice before, so this is his three-peat. He is the Stephen Del Duca fan account. You may also know him as the Don of Vaughan. Mr. Von Don, welcome back to the show.
Bonjour tout le monde.
Bonjour. Comment ça va?
Je suis bien, et tu?
Comme ci, comme ça. No, it's great to have you back on the show. I'm a fan of your meme work. I always need to laugh and slash or cry at the current state of things. So, for people who aren't familiar with you, you're a pretty popular meme account for Canadian politics, and you've been getting up to some unique stuff recently, elevating your game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been growing like a weed recently, so I don't even know what I'm up to on follower count anymore.
Oh yeah, and your biggest one is still TikTok, right?
Yeah, so far.
Okay. And I don't know if there still any concern about TikTok getting banned in Canada?
From what I've heard from government relations, it seems like things are kind of on pause right now. If there's anybody who knows Melanie Jolie's office, send them my way so we can try and get that reversed.
Yeah, well, we'll get her on that. But it is funny though. It's like, do you think it's going to be like a Korean War-esque pause where the pause just lasts 7 years?
I think it really depends on what the US does, because right now I know Oracle is the one that's looking to buy the US algorithmic part of TikTok. So it really just depends on what happens there. I think Canada's kind of pausing right now to see what happens in the States before they kind of make a move. But I mean, we're trying to back away from the US. So if we can just keep TikTok as is, I think it kind of benefits us.
And while it's not in one of our three headline topics for the back half today, Canada and Anita Anand have announced that China is now a strategic partner.
I mean, if it means getting BYDs, I'm all for it.
I agree. And I mean, it also means, in my opinion, it's probably safer at this point for Canadians to go to Shanghai or Beijing than it is to go to New York or Washington.
Yeah, I've actually heard that China is crazy right now. Like if you see some of the uh like developments that they're doing right now, like massive train stations in Shanghai and Shenzhen, like it looks like a place I would definitely spend at least a couple of weeks to go to.
They have two different models of high-speed train that are finishing final testing before they deploy to the high-speed rail network. They're the 450 series. So 450 is like their max speed. 400 kilometers an hour is like the operating peak that they're intended for, that they can work comfortably at. And they have two different models of those. They're very similar, but they're made at two different CRRC factories in different parts of China. And those are replacing China's previous high-speed trains that are the 400 model that operate at a 350 kilometer an hour operating speed. So it's a 50 kilometer an hour boost, but my general point is, if Canada's really serious about high speed rail, and if we haven't actually decided what rolling stock to procure yet for high speed rail, and China's now a strategic partner, maybe we could ask our friends in Beijing for some trains from CRRC.
That would be cool. I
Uh,
mean, how fast does Via Rail go? 150? I think that
yeah, at the peak, and a lot of times it's going slower. I think I distinctly remember on my way back from Montreal, I think we crossed a level crossing. And for folks who don't know, you have to go down like 30 or 40 kilometers an hour for a level crossing because there's a street intersection essentially between a train and a road, which is stupid.
not a huge fan of that. All right, then I'm fine with the strategic partnership.
Yeah. Thank you, China. Very cool. Anyway, but back on to the actual topic of our front half here, you and your stuff. I know one thing that you've been doing recently, and it's more of like a running gag bit, is because for Canadians who are unaware, the American government is still shut down. How many days has it been now, Mr. Von Dunn?
26.
26. And for every single day you've been posting like state of government openness, and it's like uh Canada open, Britain open, France LA, and then just at the bottom it just says failed state line and it says America closed.
Yeah, it says America, no.
Yeah.
I intersperse it sometimes with like, UK kinda, France kinda,
Yeah.
but like
Valid.
it's always the consistent Canada, EU, China is always the ones that are open. And then I think Australia I've added to say open, yes. But every single time, guess who's under the failed state line?
Um,
Mr. Trump's state of affairs.
because it's such a unique thing. It's like normally if you can't pass a budget, that's when the government has like a snap election or the ability to like dissolve a house or appoint a new prime minister. Like it's just America that has no way to resolve this other than the government won't work until the next election if you pick differently that time.
It is crazy because it hasn't happened once. It's happened multiple times. Jimmy Carter actually had two government shutdowns because of it. But I
This
think
one's not,
this
this
one,
one's uniquely not uniquely long, but it's longer. Like usually they resolve themselves quickly because some of the politicians involved are respondent to public pressure. But in this case, no one is.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is a record. I think the record right now in the States is 30 or 31 days. And we're only, what, 5 or 6 days away from the
And the
record?
last record was set under the first Trump term.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
let's see if Trump beats his own streak.
And this time, like Trump is just even more brazen. Like these are all Republicans. It's a Republican House, a Republican Senate, a Republican presidency, a Republican bought Supreme Court. Even though technically, no, they're independent. They're not partisan. Even though the six and the three vote the same way every time.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's how it works.
at least like it's a good thing in Canada that general people don't know who's on the Supreme Court. I mean, maybe it would be a good thing if they knew more about who's actually part of the Canadian government and the branches of government. But at the same time, I feel like people only know these things when something is very wrong and they have no choice but to know.
Or if they replace these Santa Claus robes in the Supreme Court with new black robes.
Yeah, that pissed me off. That actually did piss me off. Like, the robes are. I mean, they're not uniquely Canadian. There's some other Commonwealth countries that have those similar red Santa Claus-esque robes, but they're nice. Like they look fun. Like, and they don't wear them in court. They're just the ceremonial robes. Why aren't we allowed to have fun things?
I think the Santa Claus robe should have been full time, personally.
I
Maybe I'll
I
suggest that
appreciate
over to
that
our
spirit.
primate.
Yeah,
Mhm.
points awarded. But also, do you know that they have a mascot?
I think I saw it before. I don't remember specifically what it is, but I remember when they replaced these Santa Claus robes, the black robes, the stripes on them, they did talk about the mascot. I forget who it is, though.
Yeah, I forget their name either, but they're an owl. Like, imagine like non-corporate Duolingo owl.
You know what? I feel like that's very fitting. It's a boring animal, it's a wise animal that pretty much exemplifies the Canadian Supreme Court. So I'm all for it.
I just like the almost Japanese-esque idea of just having a mascot for all these random branches of government.
I feel like that would be really fun. I don't know what Carney's animal would be necessarily. It would have to be something very boring.
It's just there's someone on Twitter also who loves Cheeton. Like,
Oh, Chiaton.
yeah,
I've seen them on Twitter too.
I know they're great. There's just something very fun about the whole concept of like costumed mascot. I mean, we already have them at sports events, but like for people in Montreal who love Yuppie as much as I do, imagine if like the city had their own Yuppie. Imagine if all the different parts of the urban agglomeration of Montreal each had their own Yuppies, like, and eventually you could get them all together for a contest.
I feel like that would be too much whimsy for Toronto, though.
I know. I miss whimsy and joy. I want to have fun. I want to walk outside and feel the rain on my skin because no one else can feel it for you.
I feel like that would be so great. I mean, I guess the uniform or the costume for the House of Commons probably would be a clown costume, considering how
Her, her,
what's
her,
going on
her.
right now. But I hate myself too. Don't worry.
Then I hear strongest work.
Yeah,
But
I felt the cringe on that one. I apologize.
we're okay. Like, do you think like what I love about the running gag you're doing is like it's funny enough on the first day, but more that people know every day it continues, the funnier it will be. It's the repetition of it, and I love those kinds of gags.
Yeah, it's like a wine where just every like the more it grows, the more it kind of ages better and the more you can kind of appreciate it over time. I'm really hoping that the US government has a new streak for the longest time it shuts down just because I think that'll just make it so funny.
And it'll
So
be
we'll
great
see
for getting you new followers.
exactly because I need more of those.
Yeah, I know. But it's like it's the sort of thing where I don't actually know if the joke can get old because the joke is predicated on it going absurdly long.
I think the only thing that'll make it old is if I literally run out of images, but I have multiple months of memes I've made between January and April for during the election that I'm just using for this whole thing.
And that's assuming that future memes don't arise.
That's true, but the amount of memes that I was making during the election, I was probably making like one or two a day
Well,
for
hold
like
that
4 months.
thought for the back half because maybe there'll be another election soon.
Okay. We'll
Yeah.
hold on to that thought.
Yeah, we'll hold on to that for our headline topics in the back half. But I do love the running gag. But another bit you've done recently that I actually think is very funny, but hasn't come to fruition fully quite yet is all of your stuff about Mark Carney's book Values. And I mean, I'm pretty cynical on that book because it feels like his time in government is just finding ways to go against what he wrote in his own book. But like the funny thing is you've created memes with you've started memeing with California Governor Gavin Newsom and him just reading the book Values. You've photoshopped it into photos of him reading other books. And I was wondering if you could tell folks what's the next big step in making this like a real prime top tier S grade meme.
Yeah, sure. So before we get into that, the CEO of Shopify actually just reposted that very same image of Gavin Newsom reading values,
Oh, I
and
saw.
someone sent that to me, and I was like, "What?" Because like I've worked with Shopify before, so seeing the CEO, I was like, "Okay, cool." But I've decided to take it one step further. I literally sent a copy of Mark Carney's book over to Gavin Newsom's office in Sacramento via Amazon.
Right. So, like, you literally just placed an Amazon order for his. Was it for the governor's mansion or for a private residence?
It was for the actual office in Sacramento. So
Ah,
the
okay.
actual Governor Gavin Newsom's office in Sacramento. It was sent over to I think it's called O Avenue is where the actual office is located because you can't send mail over to the governor's mansion.
Right.
I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah,
But
but you can send it to his office. That makes sense. But I'm still shocked that, and it makes sense that they would accept mail from the public. That is their job. at the official office. But what shocked me is that you could place an Amazon order there. I thought that it would have been placed on the blacklist as well, and that you can only send your own mail there.
Nope. As long as it just gets disclosed over to them as a gift, then it's fine. So I specifically put that in the Amazon order, and it looks like it actually was fulfilled by Amazon when I checked Amazon. I had to do it through
So
US
it's been
Amazon because
delivered.
Canadian. Yep, it's been delivered. I saw it. It was delivered over by UPS
So
to the office.
essentially, it's treated like when a politician receives a gift, and I presume the value of the book and the various. Do you know what the rules and regulations are for gifts to the governor in California? Because I know they can't really like keep them.
I think it just has to be disclosed
Mm,
over to them. I think it's the same rules as the Canadian government, where just as long as it's listed and it is disclosed as a gift over directly to them, and if it's under a certain monetary value where there's no incentive for any kind
right.
of political leaning, it's not like giving a $100 million jet from Qatar to
Yeah.
Donald Trump. That's a whole different story. It's a
Scandal.
$40 book.
Gavin Newsom accepts propaganda book from communist memer.
Exactly. From socialist
Are you ready to be on
politicians.
Fox News, buddy?
Oh, I'm ready. I got my email in my bio for a reason. They can
Yeah.
go interview me at any time.
Nice. So it's been fulfilled, and I presume is just going through the giant ass mail backlog sent to any such major politician. So that's interesting. That's fun. Uh, do you think that? I was going to ask, do you think that he's read the book? And I don't know if he'll read your specific copy of the book, but I do actually wonder if he has read the book in general by Mark.
I don't think he's actually read the book. I think there's I want to say maybe 25 to 30% chance that he's going to read my copy. I sent over an email over to Newsom's office to let them know and just give a little blurb of like, hey, you guys are doing a great job of standing up against Trump's values and Canada supports you. And then I left a little blurb that's like, hey, by the way, you got sent a copy of the Prime Minister's book. Go fucking read it.
Yeah.
But
So it's
but
you sent an advance notice so they wouldn't be what the fuck is this book?
yeah, I mean, I sent it after the fact, but it
Ah,
was basically I sent it right before it was actually going to be delivered in Sacramento.
technically an advance notice.
Y- Yeah, semantics wise, technically in advance.
But before fulfillment. So like before the book arrives technically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before it actually got delivered to O Avenue in Sacramento, they got an email that said, "Hey, you got an email from." I think I put myself as Don Vaughn because you have to put like an actual name. You can't just put like a handle.
Don Vaughn.
Basically, yeah, it works, right?
I know
So
it,
I
it
basically just
just reminds me of like the book Don Juan.
it close enough, I guess. But yeah, basically, I just put like a little blurb at the bottom saying like you're going to get a copy of the Prime Minister's book. Give it a read if you want to really expand your knowledge.
Q. So what I'm assuming here is that considering how much he's starting to engage with Canadian politicians like Doug Ford, I do not think he will read the book unless he just really wants to read that book. What I absolutely think has happened is some staffer in the office had to read the book and then take notes on it.
I mean, whatever gets the delivery of the values across to Mr. Newsom, I don't care how it gets delivered, as long as it
Yeah,
gets
I know.
delivered.
I just mean that more in that, like in America, and especially in a state of his size, governors just have a stupid amount of staff compared to even like the prime minister's office.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And what's funny is that on Twitter, like
they
he's been
absolutely
really
can
active
just
on.
assign a guy to read the book for the day and then have notes tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the governor does directly do some stuff. I know that for his Twitter account where he impersonates Donald Trump all day, every day, that's actually his doing.
Oh,
And
that
his staff,
there's no way it could be a staffer and not him, just because it requires too much that would need approval if it weren't just him doing it.
yeah. And I think that's extremely funny and it's honestly pretty effective.
Oh,
I'm a fan.
it's 100% effective. It goes to the same instincts that people want here, where they kind of just want to see people punch look back. Like they don't want to see people just roll over and let Trump do it to them.
Yeah, that's all too boring.
Yeah.
I want the exciting action that's going on right now.
Yeah, I want to fight. I want a title match. Like, and listen, Governor Newsom, I will admit, he's done some horrible shit. At the same time, like, I like when he fights like this, and someone in California joked that it's like a 50-50 with Gavin Newsom between, this rabid badger is attacking me, and yay, the rabid badger is attacking my enemies.
Yeah, I think I did see that tweet. I also saw another tweet that was like, there's two things that Gavin Newsom hates. It's homeless people and Republicans, and he's run out of homeless people.
Yeah, God. That's also what I mean. It's like that's maybe why he and Doug Ford get along so well, because they both feel the same about homeless encampments.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just one's a little more subtle about the corruption than the other.
Yeah, a little bit. Just a tad. But no, I mean, I admire when memes and gags transcend the internet to the physical realm. So I like whenever you can send people a gag physically, and I like when politicians aren't so locked down that you can still send them a gag without like. I mean, I let's be honest, you're probably on a list at this point, but you're not on like the super bad list.
Yeah, I mean, probably the FBI is monitoring my social media account, but
I mean,
whatever.
like, neither of us are going to the United States, but I mean, it's not the list where Canada agrees, oh, hey,
Yeah, no, the CSIS doesn't know who I am. FBI might, but they can watch all they want. Does not matter to me.
Q. Are there any other recent gags of yours that you would like to share with the audience? Jokes and jibes?
I mean, I'm thinking. So there's obviously the government shutdown one. There's the Gavin Newsom one.
I
I think
know
the other
those are
big
like
one
your
was
two favorites of mine recently, but like I know there three's a good number. We like to go in threes.
let's say then Canada joining the EU.
Oh yeah,
That's the third one.
that one's been a perpetual one for a while. I think you've been doing that one since the last two times you were on. But I mean, I agree. I mean, I like memeing it because hopefully then our memes won't just be dreams. But I do think that Canada should pursue closer entanglements with Europe.
I think that would be great. Now, I don't think realistically that Canada will join the EU, but I think a economic zone between Canada and the European Union is going to be a big boon,
And
especially
pushing the
considering
narrative as far as you can makes it more likely to get some closer ties. It's an act of, the memes in this case are also an act of like political persuasion.
exactly like back in December, I think the first time I ever made that, I got like 1.5 million views or something like that on Twitter. So I've
Yeah.
just been kind
And
of
I know a lot
messing
of what
around.
you do can be like tongue in cheek sometimes. I know you've grown a bit more skeptical of Stephen Del Duca in recent months, but like this one is a more sincere one for you.
Yeah, like I think that's sort of the beauty of running like a parody account is like you can basically slide the scale of how much you want to actually parody something versus how much is actually like a megaphone for what your actual beliefs are. And I think people trying to dissect like what is genuine and what is a lot more tongue in cheek is really a fun exercise for me. So I like the plausible deniability of everything.
Valid. I'm different because my social media is so publicly me in that it doesn't mean that I don't say my true beliefs or things or I don't speak tongue in cheek sometimes, but I own everything and it's kind of the opposite extreme, but it also works as well. Just you have to commit to one or the other. You can't be wishy-washy on it.
Yeah, like you got to have your convictions with these kind of things. And I know you got a lot of conviction, which is good for what you speak for. I like playing more the jester's privilege of everything, like
Right.
we spoke about last time.
I know, and like I on the other hand, I'll say things like I think it's sad how much Taylor Swift is downplaying her intelligence for the benefit of her fiance, and then I had a bunch of Brazilian Taylor Swift fans mobbing my replies on Twitter.
That I Brazil is definitely one place. I thought it would have been international, but you know what? As long as you defend against your beliefs,
Well, to be
you'll be
fair,
still
Brazil is
protected.
big, and everyone from around the world is in Brazil. They actually say that one of the most faked passports in the world is Brazil because any ethnicity can reasonably be born there and raised there. Like they've got black people, they've got Asian people, they've got indigenous people. Obviously, they've got like literally like every ethnicity from around the world, for whatever reason or another, has found themselves in Brazil, and now literally they have, I think, one of the most diverse ethnic populations on the face of the globe.
That's actually true. Maybe Mark Carney should make a mission over to Brazil instead of Southeast Asia.
Yeah, or both. ¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah. Yo no hablo.
Yeah. We see. But well, this has been a fun talk for the front half here about various memes and meme enjoyment. But folks, don't go anywhere because we'll be back soon after our break with our 3 headline topics of the week and our friend, the Don of Vaughan, the Stephen Del Duca fan account. See you in a sec. This is an ad. You're hearing this ad on Jake Landau's podcast. Would you like to put an ad in this place? Email ads@jakelandau.ca and talk about ad rates to put your words in my mouth. Thank you. Today's episode of It's Getting Pretty Late with Jake Landau is brought to you by me. Folks, all of my work is available for free with no paywall at jakelandau.ca. But in order to keep writing and recording, I need money, because money is what makes this show go round. So, if you enjoy my content or find it informative, please consider a paid subscription at jakelandau.ca/subscribe. And please leave a 5-star rating on the show in your favorite podcast app, be it Apple, Spotify, or a secret third thing. Thank you, and enjoy the show. And we are back from the break with our 3 headline topics of the week, and our guest, the Stephen Del Duca fan account, or the Don of Vaughan, as I like to call him. So, Mr. Von Dons, our first headline topic of the day. We've got one from the Reuters wire service in the United States. With reporting by Jasper Ward, Valerie Volkovici, and Carolyn Stauffer, and editing by Leslie Adler and Sergio Non. That is a lot of people to work on one wire service feed. But yes, the headline here is Trump sets 10% hike in tariffs on Canada after ad airs during the World Series. So, some of you may be aware that Doug Ford spent some money on advertisements telling the Americans, hey, you shouldn't like tariffs. Here's a speech by Ronald Reagan saying tariffs are bad. And this is true. Ronald Reagan did not like tariffs. And one of the reasons I like Brian Mulroney as a conservative prime minister, even though I am fairly left as a socialist, is that he and Ronald Reagan both agreed that it is better to have an integrated economy where everyone collaborates. And I think there's a very famous part in Brian Mulroney's book, which people should read. It is very long, but you should read it. Where when there was difficulties at the last minute in the original free trade agreement before NAFTA, he called and said, Ron, how come the Americans can make an arms deal with their worst enemies, the Russians, but can't make a trade deal with their best friends, the Canadians? And then by the end of the night, there was a deal made. And I remember, I believe Colin Powell was the one who said how much it scared him that Brian Mulroney and Margaret Thatcher could call Ronald Reagan on a first name basis and get them to do whatever they wanted. But like, it's a very different environment now. That kind of Republican, I would say, is no longer with us. So Doug Ford, to be provocative, he did a $75 million ad buy for these advertisements with Ronald Reagan's speech against tariffs. And they aired, including during the World Series this weekend, and it made Donald Trump so mad that he's increasing tariffs on Canada 10%. So, my question for you, Mr. Von Don, do you think it's good to provoke Trump like this and make him angrier at us? Or do you think it's bad? I lean on it being good. Now, I don't know if it's good for us being friendly, but I kind of don't want to be friendly.
Yeah, I think it's really just a matter of, is Trump actually mad at the specific Reagan ad and is the reason why he put the 10% tariff, or is it just a excuse to be able to put that 10% hike on Canada because he has ulterior motives? I've seen sort of two prevailing theories for that right now, but I think
It could
in
be
terms
either
of
to
the,
me.
really could be either, but I think in terms of the actual ad itself, I think it would have been in any other time other than Trump very effective, because I think it really would have highlighted the hypocrisy of the Trump administration.
I
But
mean,
we're in a
it
post
hasn't it been
world now.
effective? Everyone in America seems to be talking about it. It got a lot of airplay. It far
Mhm.
outside what was paid for, and it's with all of the news coverage. And the fact that like you've got, say, then Gavin Newsom on the other hand coming out in support of it, like it does make me think it worked.
Yeah, I think for what I think maybe Ford wanted to deliver from the message, it maybe fell on deaf ears with the Trump administration because it's post-truth world that we have right now.
Did he want to
I think
convince them, though, or did Doug Ford want to make them mad?
who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, it could have gone really either way. If he wanted to provoke him, he did an absolutely amazing job. If he wanted to try and convince the Trump administration to sort of retool their tariff gears, bad job. But I do honestly think now, looking at it and looking at how much attention it really got in the grand scheme of things, I I actually kind of like the ad. I'm not gonna lie.
I like
It
it
got a lot of
too.
people. It got a
And
lot of people
I know
engaged.
people are saying, "Oh, he spent $75 million." I'm like, that seems like underpayment for like how much attention it got. And
Yeah,
and also, like, other premiers in Canada seem to agree with Doug Ford. And I do feel that it's a situation where people are kind of tired of Mark Carney not doing anything and just appeasing, appeasing, appeasing only for more tariffs, more punishment. And people are like, well, if Trump is going to hurt us anyways, then at least try and fight back.
yeah. Like I think Carney's being very careful just because Kuzma is coming up for renewal in 2026, and he wants, like, him and LeBlanc want absolutely everything that they can to make sure that it doesn't get canceled because it's a really good agreement between
Doesn't
Canada and
matter
the
if it
United
gets
States.
canceled, though, because the Americans aren't following the agreement.
Yeah, but like it gives them a legal precedent to be able to at least sort of abide by it,
A
even if
legal
Trump doesn't
precedent
like
for
it.
what? They don't follow the
Yeah.
law.
Yeah, but it gives them like at least some legal recourse for at least not outright violating it, which is what they're doing in Venezuela right now. But that's an aside. Like I kind of grown like initially with the actual ad with like the Reagan ad with Doug Ford. Initially, I literally woke up, I saw Donald Trump canceled all trade with Doug Ford, and I got very pissed at Doug Ford. But I think now we're starting to sort of see the true colors of like not only the Trump administration, but sort of like, you know, how we've been able to navigate these things as well. I think it's just sort of the nature of Trump at this point. Like we had an idea of how to deal with him, but now we're sort of like, oh yeah, the cheese just slips off the cracker, and now we have a totally different Trump. So
It seems like the ads are politically popular in Canada, and I mean, you have Wab Kinew, the NDP premier of Manitoba, putting out his own video on social media telling Doug Ford, please do not take them down tomorrow. Doug Ford said he would stop airing them on Monday after the ad buy expired. Trump got mad he didn't take them down sooner, which is an element I think we've missed here. Like, it
mhm.
isn't just about the ad airing at all, it's that the ad buy wasn't canceled despite already being paid for. Like, But it's like, so you have what, and then also you have David Eby, who's another NDP premier in British Columbia, saying he's going to be airing his own ads because he's very frustrated with how the federal government hasn't done anything for the lumber sector, like the or forestry sector that's being hitting the sectoral tariffs, like they've been doing for these other industries in central Canada and West. You get what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think it just really depends on how they really move forward with things here, because I know that, you know, Mark Carney right now is at the ASEAN conference trying to diversify trade with the Philippines, Laos, et cetera, Vietnam. So we see one part of where he's fulfilling his promise, but I'm really curious to see in 2026 how he's going to fill in those other sectors too, like how he's going to deal with lumberjacks losing their jobs, with how
And he actually, to be
the
fair, to
escalation.
fulfill the promise, it isn't just that he has to visit Europe and visit Asia and Africa. He actually has in South America. He has to make deals with them. Like there
Mhm.
actually has to be trade that comes in and out. Otherwise, it's just a vacation.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Carney will handle trips in Korea, in South Korea specifically. I don't know if he's going to deal with the North at all, but if he does actually fulfill a promise of using Algoma steel to fulfill steel orders for the South Korean submarines that are going to be delivered to Canada, I think that that's going to be a really promising insight. But we will see how that actually pans out.
Right. I'm the kind of guy who I wish I wasn't as cynical about these things, but I'm the kind of guy where I'm like, I need to see ink on the contract and need to see money changing hands. Or otherwise it just isn't real to me yet.
I totally get it, but I think it's a good sort of initial dialogue,
Hmm.
and at the very
No,
least,
yeah, it's what you should be doing. I just want it to be a first step, is what you say, like an initial dialogue. Like
yeah,
it, not
exactly.
the last dialogue. And hopefully we don't need to fly there every single time we make a progression in the dialogue. We can leave negotiators there to work on these deals long term.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just more so like make the good initial first impression by actually being there to shake
Right. Oh
hands
yeah,
and to be
yeah.
like,
I'm not contesting. Yeah, but we're on the same page here. I think. It's
yeah, yeah,
like,
for sure.
in general, it's like, do you think that Mark Carney is going to pay like a political price for not being willing to directly fight or criticize Trump head on?
I'm not 100% sure because I think it's really up to LeBlanc right now to try and be able to negotiate something with Lutnick Investment right now in the United States to see what they're at least willing to do for Canada right now. If they're willing to do absolutely nothing, and that's at least the dialogue it
Hasn't
seems like
Letnick
between
outright
Lutnick.
said that like he wants America first, Canada second for the auto industry and just to destroy the Canadian car industry?
Yeah, but that's Lutnick. I've heard there's a bit of a vendetta between him and Canada right now. Same thing with Trump with the whole Trump hotel in Toronto right now.
Right,
But
but if he's the one we have to make the deal, this is what I mean. I just feel like we keep on telling Canadians, or the federal government does, "Oh, hold on, we got to be nice now, but we're going to have a deal soon." And then it's a deal that Trump's immediately going to violate if there's a deal at all. And we have to consider the fact that Trump is stringing out Carney on a deal because he wants to make the conservatives more competitive in the next election.
yeah, it's just that there's a lot of players in this effect right now. Like I know LeBlanc's doing a good job, and it's up to Anand, it's up to Jolie, it's up to Besant,
Oh yeah,
and
I'm sure
making
all these
decisions.
people are
So
working hard on a deal, but I guess the question is, does the electorate have patience for this? Because if they're very hungry and have the appetite for what the premiers are doing and directly criticizing and fighting Donald Trump, then it will come at the expense of the federal government if they don't do the same. There will have people saying the federal government is the problem and these premiers are the only ones talking about what we're feeling.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it is also a benefit that premiers and governors in the U.S. do have so much power because of the whole straight states' rights things and whatnot. Like uh, Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, and I know what's his name, Shapiro over in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Josh
They're big
Shapiro.
advocates. Josh Shapiro. They're big advocates of Canada right now because they do so much trade. between Ontario and the US, that they have been big advocates right now. So I don't think that it's necessarily paradise lost when it comes to trying to approach like a trade solution here. I just think that maybe if there's a little bit of a retooling of the strategy and not trying to like handle it so heavy-handed with Trump directly, I'm not totally pessimistic about an idea of a trade agreement being in place. I just think that maybe now we've really started to see Trump's true colors. And I think diversifying trade with other
Did we
countries
not
is
see
good.
those
And
true colors like 4 years ago when he tried to, or when he tried to overthrow the government?
yeah, well, they never indicted him on that. So
Uh, it's like we ran into Nancy Pelosi's office and made her fear for her life, but at least we all got pardons after.
yeah, I mean, I was looking at a lot of I was actually looking at some articles about what's his name? Who is the U.S. Attorney General under the Biden administration?
Uh, it is not coming to me right now. I only remember the fucking Merrick. Was it Merrick Garland?
Yeah, Merrick
Okay, I
Garland.
wasn't sure if he was like a special or if he was actually the attorney general.
Yeah, no, he was U.S. Attorney General, and they were talking basically about like the pressure against the clock of trying to indict Trump on the January 6th stuff, and
Yeah,
trying to find any sort of connection that they could to try and indict Trump on, like going through connections to the Proud Boys, going through connections through any kind of like alt-right organization that they can, and just coming up completely empty-handed. It's like it's just a kind of a big bummer all
well,
around, but.
like Merrick Garland is a Republican who was only ever known to people because he was Obama's compromise pick to a Republican Senate who got rejected anyways because it was. I just don't know how many years of we're taking the mask off, we're taking the mask off before we were like, oh wow, there's a villain under that Scooby Doo mask.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, you
eh,
never know.
like, I feel like we've been having the same conversation since like the fucking Bush era. Which
Probably even
Bush?
before that.
Yes. Like, uh, I'm tired, man. I'm so tired.
Well, isn't that what your Substack's named?
Yeah, yeah, that way. And now we know why. Moving on to our second topic of the day, and more on Canadian domestic federal politics here, from Benjamin Lopez Stephen in the Politics Bureau at CBC News. Right now, we don't have the votes to pass federal budget, says Liberal House Leader Stephen McKinnon. Stephen McKinnon pressing opposition parties to consider if they want another election. So, let's summarize things here. The Liberal government is working like they have a majority and not a minority, even though they do have a minority. And they need the collaboration of at least three MPs to either vote in favor or even abstain to get a budget passed. But rather than offer anything that any of the opposition or crossbench members want, they're instead just saying, oh, it would be a shame if there was another election. I don't think Canadians are ready for another election. But, if we can't pass, then there might be an election. It's very fucking transparent what's happening here. They want to be able to not offer any compromise to the parties they're expected to collaborate with, and then have an election while being able to blame it on the opposition so they can, claim a majority? I remember when Justin Trudeau tried this in 2021, it didn't work very well for him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I get what you mean.
So it's like, but what's your take on this though? Like, what? Why do you think that the federal government, that House Leader Stephen McKinnon, is not able to find or offer anything to three opposition or crossbench members of parliament to get them to support this? Because that's not a lot of people. Like, surely there is something that can be offered to the NDP or to the Bloc Québécois or to a combination of one or two MPs from like the NDP are very thin right now. I don't know how tightly whipped they are, and the Green, you get what I mean. Like, there should be a compromise option available here.
Yeah, like I think personally, the like what's probably going to happen is the nothing ever happens principle, where nothing ever happens. I think that the conservatives and the BQ are going to vote against it. The NDP are going to abstain, and then it's going to pass 169 to 166. But I think that the big thing right now is that the conservatives are obviously going to say no because
Yeah,
like there's
no, I have
pretty
no
big gap between the
expectation of
two.
collaborating with the conservatives. And I know the bloc, what they've asked is they want an increase in the health transfer to the provinces. They want new infrastructure investment. They want an expansion of the rapid housing initiative. And I support all of those things, to be honest. But what they're also asking is they want to boost in old age security payments for those ages 65 to 75. And considering the senior demographic are the wealthiest in Canada right now, and my generation, our generation, are like in deep economic trouble, I do not think it is fair or reasonable to ask for a wealth transfer from the poor to the rich.
Well, also Carney's introducing an austerity budget. I don't think he's going to be okay with increasing OES CPP budget in any way, shape, or form. So that's probably going to be nixing the whole BQ vote entirely
Right,
as
and they're
well.
fairly
So
tightly whipped. So I think the question is the NDP. And Stephen McKinnon, funnily enough, told Rosemary Barton, according to this article, he would not lump Don Davies, the interim NDP leader, in with the other opposition leaders because the NDP have been more constructive in their feedback. So that's the funny thing then. I'm like, uh, surely there's something you can offer the NDP if you're willing to be publicly amenable to them. And the NDP have taken a stance they don't want to be seen publicly collaborating with the Liberals right now because it did not work for them, the confidence and supply agreement. The benefits went entirely to the Liberals at the expense of the NDP. So they've told the Liberals, tell us what you're going to offer us. And you know what? I think that's fair. I think the NDP have been burned a fair bit. I think that the Liberals know the kind of things that the NDP are interested in. They can read the platform from the last election. So put something in the budget that is amenable to these, like, seven members. Is it seven NDP MPs, I believe?
I think it's seven. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, yeah, like Don Davies is playing it very safe right now
Yeah.
because he knows that he's interim leader right now. And I know that the NDP right now is kind of going through a bit of an identity crisis between like the more hardline worker centric Ashton and then like the more sort of big tent, like I think her name's McKinnon and what's his also his name as well. Um, there's a third one, Lewis. So it really just I think they're sort of like trying to play it really safe right now because they don't know where the party is actually going to move forward right now. So that's why I'm saying like I think this is probably going to pass just out of the NDP abstaining.
Right. I won't let, I'm very concerned about this budget because Mark Carney, isn't really revealing any details, but Wednesday night he told a group of university students, that Canadians are going to need to make sacrifices. And McKinnon has said that they're going to need to make choices on the government operations side. And I'm like, okay, so what are you cutting? Tell me exactly, what are you cutting? What are you getting rid of? What is going to be worse in society than it was before? Who is going to be making a sacrifice? Are you cutting something for poor people? Because if this austerity government seems more like it's for the benefit of rich and wealthy Canadians, the ones that have fully maxed out FHSAs and TFSAs and RRSPs, the kind of Canadian I can't relate to and never will be.
Yeah, I mean I think it's going to be sort of an across the board kind of thing. I don't know specifically what kind of
Well, it
cuts are
won't be
going to
cuts to the
happen.
military, so it won't be entirely across the board.
Yeah, I
And if
have
they're
no
increasing
clue.
there, it means the cuts everywhere else are going to be worse.
Yeah, I'm not loving the idea of the austerity budget, but also at the same time, given the tariffs they're going to be hitting the country as well, you kind of have to figure out where you're actually going to scrounge money. Like if, you have a two income household, one of your incomes loses, like if one of your incomes
We
loses
have
their
a
job,
AAA credit rating.
yeah.
Do we not have that so we can borrow money during hard times?
It depends on what kind of bond yields you have and what kind of bond swaps you can actually do on that. But
Right,
I
I
have no
know it's
idea.
there are
I'm
complexities in issuing government debt, but
Yeah,
I feel like austerity's budgets are a horrible way to deal with a recession. Like you need stimulus to make the economy circulate.
yeah. I think if you just announced like a blank austerity across the board, like what Angela Merkel did with Greece, that would be a dumb idea. I think the only saving grace right now that we have is because the government in Canada is announcing a major investment over back into the private sector. If we can offset jobs that we have right now, I think that's a little more sensible. If they were just like, all right, we're going to do budget cuts across the board with no actual incentive for reinvigorating the economy, I'd be like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. When you fire people in the public service, people don't seem to understand you're increasing the unemployment rate. You're creating people who now will not be able to pay their rent or pay for food. Like, I don't think people understand how much of government jobs and the public service is not just to provide those services, it's also economic stimulus.
Yeah, I will say if the budget does actually incentivize private sector to create these jobs where it is going to be offset, I'm fine with it, with the whole austerity budget. But if it seems like it's not actually going to yield anything, I think that's going to start to sour, my opinion of the administration a little bit more.
And to be quite frank, when has the private sector ever used an austerity budget and lower taxes as a reason to invest in itself rather than just streamline and increase profit margins?
The United States, I will say no. Canada, it's a little bit more of a mixed bag.
Yeah. Oh, you're a bit more not confident, but you have a bit more faith in private sector economics than I do. I mean, like I believe in market economics, but I don't like the idea of the government taking a step back from the social safety net. Like when we leave things solely to the predations of capitalism, bad things happen.
Yeah, it's definitely like a bit of a, for some people who are more like focused on sort of the social safety net, like I know you are as a socialist. So, like I've worked in the private sector basically my whole life. So I have a little bit of a different
I
outlook
get
than
it.
people who are probably the
And to be
whole
fair,
public sector.
I worked for the Insurance Bureau of Canada on Bay Street for
Mhm.
about a year, so like I'm familiar with the finance sector and the Bay Street environment. It's not like I'm alien to it.
Yeah, for sure. So as long as we know that there is actually going to be some sort of productive yield out of the budget that's coming in November, that I'm a little more assured about that. But if it does look like that the November budget is going to have blind austerity across the board, where there's no actual incentive for trying to create these jobs,
And there's no rhyme or
then
reason
it's
to what's being cut. It's just cutting for the sake of cutting.
we will see what happens in November.
We
Yeah.
will see. But that's a fair point. I will judge the budget that is actually put forward when it is put forward. But boy, as a journalist, I would appreciate information on what that budget will actually contain.
Yeah, I think it's just because things are so dynamic right now. They introduce one budget idea and then, as Doug Ford says, the cheese slips off the cracker and something entirely different happens, so they have to reprioritize. Like it's so dynamic right now. It's hard to really gauge like where a budget's going to be depending upon what industry and what sector actually requires the funding. So I don't know.
Yep.
Really.
We'll see. Alrighty, moving on to our final topic of the day, folks. A local story from Ontario, as reported by Alison Jones at the Canadian Press. Ontario trustee tied to Italy art trip who education minister sought to fire resigns. So, several four trustees at the Brant Haldeman Norfolk Catholic District School Board took a $45,000 trip to Italy to buy $100,000 worth of art for the board. The trip was controversial because people are like, I don't think you need to do that. But the controversy has also been used by Education Minister Paul Calandra in Ontario as causes belly as one of the reasons to say we're getting rid of school boards and elected trustees, mostly kind of sorta. Uh, Three of the four trustees repaid the trip expenses, uh, which are each about $12,000 per person, but Watson refused to pay his share back in full. Paul Calandra tabled a bill in the Ontario legislature at Queen's Park on Monday with the sole purpose of firing Watson and barring him from being a trustee at any Ontario school board until 2030. Watson hasn't talked to the media, but on Friday he resigned from his position. However, Paul Calandra says he's still proceeding with the legislation to send a message. Now, on the one hand, yeah, I think this was incorrect behavior by the school boards. But 2 points. One, school boards serve a purpose. You cannot get rid of school boards because a couple in a random rural school board do a bad thing. But second, and this is actually the way bigger thing than a school board debate for me, Mr. Vaughan Don. Question: are you familiar with bills of attainder?
I am not super familiar.
So the concept of a bill of attainder is a law that literally targets a specific person. And this is not very common in liberal democracy and shouldn't be, for the very obvious reason that the legislature creates laws governing conduct in society, and then the courts determine through facts whether or not someone has violated those laws. But a bill of attainder essentially lets you say this person is guilty and is being punished through an act of the legislature. And at least at the federal level in Canada, that is absolutely unconstitutional. There is not. I don't even mean on a charter basis. I mean fundamentally, there is no legal power for the federal government to pass bills of attainder, and to my knowledge, neither does the provincial government. Like, you can restrict this kind of behavior by trustees in general, but then a court has to determine whether or not Mr. Watson has violated rules set out by the board, by the province and the law. You get what I mean here, right?
Yep, I get what you mean.
Yeah. So, like, my question for you for our no prize question of the week: do you think that Minister Paul Calandra should pass bills of attainder against people he doesn't like?
Ooh, I know this one. No.
No is the correct answer. Congratulations on your no prize.
Great.
But,
what do I win?
No, but like this, I was talking with from the New Leaf Liberals. I was talking and former Prime Minister's office staffer Nathaniel Arfin about this, and like he kept on like screaming like this is a bill of attainder. You can't fucking do that. And like he's right. I didn't even think about it initially, which I'm embarrassed by. But he's completely right. Like in high school and university and political science, like we've talked about bills of attainder and like the fundamental problems with them in administering in a blind and equal justice system. You got like you cannot have the government proclaiming people guilty by fiat.
Yeah, seems a little backwards.
No, like imagine if like the Doug Ford government passed a bill of attainder against you, saying that you're guilty of libel against Stephen Del Duca. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
no, but like, I mean, it's like for one that would be like there. Yes, there are criminal laws surrounding libel and defamation in Canada. That's for a court to decide. That's for a crown attorney to bring forward charges if they have the evidence to suit it, and then that's for a defense attorney. But like you can't just declare your political enemies and opponents like illegal by edict. Like this is the behavior of a king, like, and not even a constitutional monarch. It's the behavior of like an actual like tyrant.
Like an absolute monarch.
Yeah, like it's a tyrannical authoritarian measure. Like, and
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
the problem is because everyone's like, oh, well, this trustee did a scummy thing. I agree, and I don't like what he did, and he should have paid that money back, and I never should have went on that trip. But like, it doesn't. If you want to set rules for ineligibility, then you have to set general rules, and like, and then he can be judged by those general rules that apply to every trustee in the province. Like, I actually find this more offensive and problematic than getting rid of school board trustees. I hate that, but they have the power to do that. This, on the other hand, is like extreme. And the problem here is they successfully pressured him into resigning, and resigning would have been a good thing, anyways, to be honest. But now the problem is they've succeeded. They did someone who no one would be sympathetic for, and they pressured him, and now they're going to pass it anyway as a show of force. And unless he like legally challenges it because he wants to run somewhere again before 2030, which I don't think will happen because they're also getting rid of school board, there's just very little legal recourse here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wonder how much of this is going on because Ford doesn't actually know the legal proceedings of like the legal ramifications of these kinds of acts
Well,
that
yeah,
Glenn
okay, you
Green's
don't
being
need like a law
accused.
degree to become a politician, and you don't need to know anything in the Constitution. And it seems most people never, if they do read the Constitution of Canada, they're just reading the small sliver that's the Charter. Like, they don't ever look to the Constitution Act of 1867. They don't look to the parts in the Constitution Act of 1982 that are not the Charter, like, say, Indigenous rights. There's a very weird idea people have where you can use the notwithstanding clause to override Indigenous treaties. You can't. They're actually immune because they're outside the Charter.
Yeah, I mean, I know Alberta is doing that right now with the
Right.
independence
Well,
referendum.
hopefully in Canada we still have a functional justice system where you can actually sue people for, but you get what I mean. Like, we're not like, we shouldn't be like America where these things can be declared by the dictator in chief and then you're rounded up by secret police.
Yeah, it just seems a little bit weird. Like, I think it sort of really highlights like having somebody in charge who doesn't actually know legal recourse or understands like the actual ramifications of like especially when we're dealing with like you know civil law here
Right.
where
Well,
legal
it's because
precedent
the
is
attorney
trumps
general
everything.
for Ontario doesn't know what they're doing, and also even if they did say, "Hey, this isn't allowed," the rest of cabinet, I think, would have just ignored them.
Mhm.
Well, but yeah, hopefully we will not have any more bills of attainder in this province, and hopefully, Mister Von Don, neither you nor I will be one of the people subject to them.
Hope is a big word,
Yeah,
but we'll see if we can
hope's
actually.
doing a lot of weight for us.
Yeah, hope is a load bearing beam in this house of ideas.
Mr. Don of Vaughan, thank you so much for joining the program again today. It is always a pleasure, and hopefully your fourth time will be not too far around the corner.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Alrighty.
Jay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Don of Vaughan, everybody, or the Stephen Del Duca fan account. And that'll do it for this week's episode. Thanks once again to the Don of Vaughan or the Stephen Del Duca fan account for joining the program. You can find him on social media pretty easily. And next week we will have our episode on the Saturday on November 1st. So join us that evening with another great returning guest who I'm happy to have back on the show. You'll enjoy her very much. So see you folks. Same bad time, same bad channel. So long. This is the end of the show. Bye.